the next Fire tablet.
Yeah, they stopped offering those long ago.
They sent me the last one, but it was like super boring. I don't think we ever even posted the review.
I have one of the $50 tablets somewhere around here. I think I powered it up once.
I've got to tell you, the $60 phone probably a hell of a lot better than that $50 tablet. Like a lot better.
You know, my wife was like legit using a Fire tablet for a while, like to watch video, and then a couple weeks ago she was
I
like,
thought you were gonna say it's like a coaster.
no, no, like she was like watching video because like she has a lot of Amazon stuff, and so like a couple weeks ago she, for whatever reason, she bought a TV season on Google Play because she had credit, and she was looking at her Fire tablet and she goes, wait a minute, can I watch Google Play things on this? I was like, no, you can't. Let me just replace that with something not so crappy.
To be fair, I bought the $50 tablet just to have a backup for when my son invariably breaks his current tablet. So I didn't really buy it to use it. I bought it to just have it as a backup.
That should be the slogan for children. Kids, they break shit.
They do. My son has broken he had an original Fire tablet, the first one that they made. He has had a Samsung Galaxy S3 that it was basically a small tablet because it didn't have any plans tied to it. He's had currently he's got my Nexus 9. He's had a Nexus 7, currently he's got my Nexus 10. He's had 2 Nexus 7s. Yeah. And all of them have been broken. Every one has been broken or smashed in some way.
Ooh, I'm actually getting an error trying to connect to the... Oh, wait, there it goes. The IRC gave me an error at first. All right. I think we're ready to go. We don't have a sponsor this week, so don't need to worry about that.
No pre-roll.
No pre-roll. And spreadsheet looks nice and tidy, I guess.
It's trim.
So I just want to make sure, like, you really don't want to talk about Verizon charging people money to throttle them. I figured that would be something you would like to
Okay, that's fine. We can add that back in.
It's just so funny.
All right, hold on. Let me see. Okay, there we go. It is. I forgot about that part.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about the plans. Like, I don't care. But like,
yeah, charging to throttle you. That's yeah. That's ugh. That's something. It's something gross. Okay. All right. I think we are otherwise ready to go. As long as everybody has read Liam's message in the chat for the Hangout on Air. It's very important.
And please note that I'm using the Neapolitan lower third again this week.
Yes. All right, let's do this thing.
All right. We are recording.
You're recording?
Oh, sorry.
That's good. I actually thought about stopping and asking to make sure we were recording.
I noticed it's like we were in sync.
We were
but out of sync.
We were right there. Well, we were in sync except for the lag.
Yep.
So, all right. Welcome to the Android Police Podcast, your weekly audio source for all things Android. It is Thursday, July 7th, 2016. I'm your host, Matthew Smith.
I'm David Ruddick.
I'm Liam Spradlin.
I'm Ryan Whitlam.
All right, guys, we have lots of exclusive this week, mostly Google hardware related, which is cool. That's kind of a favorite of ours here. So starting off with the 2006, yes, before Android was released. 2016 Nexus phones, Sailfish and Marlin. So we have some visual representation on the site of what these particular devices are going to look like. Apparently, they're going to be virtually identical to each other with the exception of, well, size. And I don't know. I feel like the reviews have been kind of mixed. So we've got the back panel, which is half glossy and half matte, it would appear. Some people have some very particular feelings about that, I suppose. Would be a safe way to say it.
Breaking. Person doesn't like the way thing looks. Breaking. 4 and 11. Yeah, it looks like a phone, and I'm happy with that. It doesn't look like Google tried to do something obnoxiously weird. It just looks like, almost utilitarian compared to maybe the 6P,
Yeah,
which was kind of, eh.
the 6P, like, it looked bad in photos, and even in person, like, it's the sort of phone that you grow to tolerate. It's not like an attractive phone, but it's not like
I don't
horrible looking.
know.
Oh,
I hate
Liam,
the pictures of the
Liam,
6P.
you 6 apologist.
I love the 6P now, and I have the gold version. So how could I do anything else besides love it? I mean, the face feel
Well,
alone.
you could rub it on your face. That's I think
Yeah.
what you're supposed to do with gold.
The
6P.
face feel is the most important part, and we can't get that from a photo.
Right.
Yep.
What I will say, however, is that there are a lot of people commenting about how there are no front-facing speakers, and like, part of me wants to believe that they'll use the same setup as the HTC 10, and it will be fine. But the other part of me is like, man,
I mean,
I want
yeah.
front-facing
at
speakers.
that point, like, if the speakers are going to be like that, I don't even really care if there are two of them, because the HTC 10 speakers are just sort of okay.
They're not very good at all. Actually, the Galaxy S7 speaker is louder than the 10s if you cup your hands. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think
You cup your
I
hands.
think like the whole advantage of the front-facing stereo speakers is that they're on the front of the phone. Like, you can hold the phone without your hands like covering a speaker.
Right.
So I mean, like,
Plus,
whatever.
I
If they're
think
gonna have,
it looks cool.
I mean, if they're gonna have one of the speakers on the bottom, like, whatever, just have one speaker. It's fine. Make it loud, and we'll deal with it.
I would like to hear like what the rationale is.
For getting
Not
rid
that,
of
like-
front-facing speakers?
Not that it's so weird to not have front-facing speakers, because almost no phones do. I just feel like this was kind of a thing that they were going with.
I mean, I
No,
guess
not.
it has been since. I guess the Nexus 5 would have been the last one that didn't have front-facing speakers.
Alright,
at least,
so-
at least for the expensive version. Like the 5X only had the one.
So if I were to pontificate upon this, I would say,
Please
so
do.
look at the Nexus 6 and the way its front-facing speakers work. Remember how everybody was tripped out by the little inserts on the Nexus 6 speakers? Where they kind of stick out from the phone. So what those do is elevate the display enough that the air doesn't get. Essentially, there's airspace under the phone when it's placed face down. It can reduce screen scratching. Artem, be quiet.
But there are
So-
things.
It could reduce display scratching, but also because there is air there and the air can move, you can hear the sound as it comes out. Whereas with the 6P, because they're flush, when you put it face down, the sound has a much harder time getting out. So if you use a bottom fibering speaker when the phone's face down on a surface, you'll hear it because it's fully exposed to the air, and so you don't get notifications.
Two things. First, who does that? And second, why couldn't they just use the version that sticks out?
I put my phones down all the time. It's a terrible habit.
For
but
playing music, though?
constantly.
I almost
Like,
always
let me
have my phone.
No,
flip
but
over
for
my phone,
notifications,
press play,
like if I
turn
just
it back
leave
over.
my phone on my desk, there's a good chance it'll be face down. And so like if somebody calls me, I'm less likely to hear the ringing, especially if I'm downstairs and my phone's on my desk.
I see.
But like,
I can
but
identify
wait,
this.
But why do you put your phone down like that?
I don't know, actually. It's some kind of like, you know what it is? Because when I go to reach for it, I can then just flip it up to my face naturally. Whereas if it's face up, I have to kind of do the thing where my fingers have to wrap around it and then pull it up to my face. Whereas if it's face down, I can do the
It
immediate.
sounds like a
grip
lot
and
of
go.
rationalization right now.
I don't know.
But
I mean,
I can
okay,
give you-
okay. No,
I can
here's
give you a
what.
very clear definition of why mine are face down. It comes from, like, I always put them face down on my nightstand when I go to bed because I wake
That's
up
true.
often. I wake up often in the middle of the night, and the worst thing in the world is when you wake up in the middle of the night and you have a blue blinking light on your nightstand, and of course you have to see what it is, and then the next thing you know you're up for an hour. So that's my rationale. I started doing it for that, and now it's just habit.
That makes sense to me as well.
Okay.
Especially since you have ambient display or whatever they call it on
Okay,
the next phones where the
sure.
display lights up when the notification comes in.
So there are reasons. However, I can identify with those as somebody who keeps their phone in do not disturb mode 24/7. But that being said, like, yeah, why don't they just use the version that still lets you hear the sound?
I don't know. Maybe that was just difficult in other ways. But if they did the HTC thing where it comes out of the earpiece speaker too, maybe it'll be at least a acceptable compromise to the
Pish
next
posh.
Johnny. Official stance from Liam.
all
Pish
the
posh.
way.
Pish
Utter pish posh.
We both know that the phone will come out and I'll end up loving it.
Nexus
But
2016 review. Pish
I
posh.
just want to get my complaints in right now.
Also, it really bugs me. We still know the names. I'm like, we know so much
Yeah.
about the phones, but we don't know what they're called. And it's
Oh, you
it's-
mean like whether it's Nexus or
even if it
G?
is a Nexus, like what it is, like what number Nexus is. So they're going to be 5.5 and 5.0. So it's going to be Nexus 5 and 5.5. But that's
Yes.
there's never been a decimal Nexus.
That's Nexus 6Q.
I want a Nexus 5 say.
A 5 say,
Mm-hmm.
a say.
Yeah, say. Like the iPhone 5 say.
I see.
Hmm.
Yes.
Or I say, yeah. So that's what they look like. I mean, what function? So I guess my speculation is a little glossy window on the back is mostly for the NFC coil.
Well, I mean, presumably the other antennas as well.
Yeah, some of them are probably also getting benefits from that, especially considering where the antenna lines meet along that piece.
Do you think that's going to be glass or plastic?
I think it'll be plastic.
I would lean toward plastic too, but I guess it could be glass.
I feel like if they were going to do glass, they would have just done the whole thing, the whole back.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe.
Wasn't there like a Droid Incredible or something that had a back plate?
I was about to say there was the
I had that
Evo
phone.
4G LTE. It looked
And you know what
very
you could
similar.
do? You know what you could do with that phone, which I think Ron called ugly, by the way, but at the time I was totally into it. Anyway, what you could do is pull off the back of the phone, and I think it had an SD card slot in there. Anyways.
It
I'm
also
not
has a
trying to start it.
kickstand. So
It
Cody
totally
has said
falls
the most completely heretical thing
Oh,
ever
God.
about the
I
names.
just saw it.
Nexus 5 and Nexus 5 Plus. I'm dead.
Please no.
Just dead.
I could see them using Nexus 5 again.
Can it just be like Nexus 5 and then it comes in sizes like large or medium?
The Nexus 5S, Nexus
Yeah,
5L. But what is a
here's the-
small 5? Like
And then
big
and
5?
then they'll
Or
and then they'll
small 5?
finally release a new Nexus tablet, the Nexus XL.
Okay. I'll take
I
it.
think they're going to call it the Nexus M5 because it's made by HTC.
Although it's hard to imagine coming out with a Nexus tablet that even compares to the Pixel C, of course.
Which, as we all know, is perfect and fabulous.
It is perfect and fabulous, you're right.
Perfect
So-
and fabulous.
Fabulous.
All right, so hey, let's talk about watches. Because I'm actually wearing a dumb watch for the first time in weeks. I just wanted to point that out. I keep tapping the display and nothing happens. It's pissing me off. But actually, no, it's a great story because my Huawei watch no longer links to a phone ever since I got the Android update last week. So.
The 1.5 update?
Yep, it broke it, and now it has to go back to Huawei, and they will keep it for 10 to 12 days, and then they will send it back to me.
Nice.
Wow.
So
I like that. Like
Super
that's
excited.
the only thing they're gonna do. They just
Huawei.
they're
they
just
receive
keeping
it
yes.
and they
We're
just
gonna
like chill out with
quarantine.
it for 10 days.
We're gonna
And
put
they're like,
the
well, I guess I better send it
We're
back.
going to send the watch to a kennel. It's going to run around in a very nice little field with all the other watches. And hopefully, after this therapy, it will return and decide to work again.
But no, actually, what we're supposed to be talking about now is Google actually apparently going to be releasing their own Android Wear Nexus watches, I guess you could say, if we're going to call anything Nexus anymore. So 2 of them supposedly coming out very soon with Google Assistant integration. So this one we don't have a mock-up on the site. We have something that David put together, which, David put
It's
together.
a word mock-up.
It's totally photorealistic. It'll look exactly like that.
The bezels, though.
The bezels, yeah.
The bezels.
So I would say that you can. The way to look at this is Google is building the super watch and the regular watch, and so Super Watch is thick and sporty, doesn't use the Wear mode bands, um, and it has GPS, an LTE, and a heart rate sensor, and it's bigger. It's 43.5 millimeters, which isn't huge actually, because the Moto 360 large is 46 millimeters, but it's big-ish, and it's probably going to be a lot more expensive. We have no idea how much they're going to cost though, and it's definitely got a very sporty design, but it's not like it's smooth. It's kind of what you would expect of a Google design device. There aren't a lot of breaks in the pieces of the body. It looks like one solid piece and kind of a curved look. I heard it described as kind of, I'd actually in a way say it's a little similar to the original G Watch R, but without all the angles. It's much softer. So it's chunky, but in a way that doesn't look like it's necessarily trying super hard. Not sure of a better way to describe it. It's a watch. It has three
It's
buttons.
so it's big like a big watch is big, not big like a smartwatch is big.
Yeah, it's big like a big watch is big. Yeah, I would guess. I'm not sure how big the G Watch R is, but I would assume it's probably about the same size as the G Watch R. Let me look up the G Watch R's diameter because now I need to know.
It had a tiny screen. The
G
G
Watch
Watch
R
R.
diameter. Oh no, the G Watch R was huge.
No,
It was
well
a
the screen was small though.
Yeah, but
It had like
it had a
giant everything
yeah, but
else.
I'm talking about the screen for this. So this is 46.4 millimeters for G Watch R. So this will be a full 3 millimeters narrower than that. I wonder what the Watch Urbane diameter was. That might be more appropriate. No, 45.5. So it's still even smaller than that. So it's actually not that big.
Yeah, it's so the Huawei watch is 42, so it's slightly larger than that.
Yeah, it's slightly larger than the Huawei watch, which okay, yeah, I guess take it at that. And I would say I would guess it probably has the same screen size as the Huawei watch, just more bezel.
Right.
And then so that one's going to have all of the features to design to showcase Wear standalone apps that were announced as part of Wear 2.0. The idea being a watch you can take anywhere because it has GPS and LTE, and so it can stream music, it can navigate, it can track your runs, it can measure your heart rate, and yeah, we don't know anything about ruggedizing though, so I don't know if it's waterproof or anything. It has three buttons, so there's a main crown button, and then there are two buttons to the side of it on the right side of the body of the watch. The second one, which is codenamed Swordfish, the first one was Angelfish, is smaller, much thinner, um, and generally just a little, it's simpler. So it's got Wi-Fi. It doesn't have, as far as we know, a heart rate sensor. It doesn't have LTE. It doesn't have GPS. It is compatible with the Wear mode watch bands, and obviously it'll be cheaper because of that. It's 42 millimeters across, so the size of a Huawei watch. And like I said in the post, I would describe, it was described to us as being more like a watch Urbane, but having, looked at some evidence myself, I would say the design feels to me more like, kind of a cross between the Huawei watch and a Pebble Time Round almost. It's interesting. Though the crown button is centered along the x-axis of the watch, it's not offset like it has been on a lot of recent watches. So it looks nice. It's fairly thin. I think 10 point something millimeters. So not super thick or anything. And obviously this one will be cheaper, a little smaller. Won't have the LTE for the full standalone functionality, at least for stuff requiring data. And probably would be the one that's going to be more mass market appeal. It too has a fairly smooth design. The lugs stick out from the body like a Pebble Time Round, not like a Huawei watch where the body kind of curves into the lugs. So you've got this empty area between the bottom and top of the watch and where the lugs stick out from. So it's definitely a different aesthetic from the larger Angelfish watch. It doesn't look sporty. It looks more like a kind of a fashion watch. Not that I'd necessarily describe it as chic or anything. And this one will come in three colors: titanium, silver, and rose gold. Whereas the larger Angelfish, it's not clear if that'll come in more than one color, and the main color seems to be that titanium, which is kind of a dark charcoal gray.
I want to be excited about these. I really do.
So do I, but I'm not at all.
I'm just not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
it
not.
sounds like they're going to try pushing the expensive one, and like, who needs LTE in a watch really? Like, is that a thing people are actually interested in doing, paying more every month for data on their watch? Should it come up
I
that
ask
much?
that about every smartwatch feature. I go on this tangent like every episode, but still,
I mean,
I
I feel
just
like you can make an argument for some smartwatch features, I think, and not have to lie to yourself. But I mean, the whole idea of like not taking your phone someplace and just using your watch with an LTE connection, it seems like the sort of thing that is going to have such narrow appeal that I don't see a product working with that as
Yeah,
like a main.
it's 100% for the gym and people who like run or cycle and stuff and just want something that they can, use for those situations. But I'm not sure they're going to be willing to spend such a hefty sum for something like this. You know, and I guess the other thing about the data cost is if you have Project Fi, then it's not a concern because there is no add device fee for peripherals. So you would just be using the same data your phone's using. And I'm sure that's how they'll probably, cross pitch it. I'd be interested to see if they do a kind of a bundle deal for Project Fi, where if you buy the watch, maybe get a deal on Fi service, or maybe sign up for Fi service, you get a deal on the watch, or if you bundle it with a Nexus phone, you get a deal if you sign up for Fi service, something like that.
I would say they're likely to do something like if you sign up for Fi, you get a discount on the watch, or if you just buy it through Fi. Like if that's a thing, I'm sure that they would give you discounts since they have discounts on the phones. I'm interested about Google Assistant, even though I think Sundar Pichai said that Assistant is not going to be like a separate thing. It's just Google
I
on your
think that,
devices.
well, I kind of, okay, I'm not sure how much I can say about this. Um, I think Assistant, in and of itself, may see implementations where it's not like Assistant in the abstract sense on like a smartphone or a tablet or a device like that, but where it's just the conversational part of that larger platform, where it does the things. Essentially, anything that would work with Google Assistant would work on your watch as far as the conversational aspects are concerned. Like if there
Right.
was a chat bot for something, then that would work on your watch too, and that would be Google Assistant. And then there would obviously be the basic Google functionality that Assistant works with for conversational stuff anyway.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that Assistant is just how you talk to Google. So
Yeah.
it's not like, I don't know. I guess rather than just typing into a box, it's like Assistant.
Yeah. So I
It's
mean, yeah, it'd
just
be
how you
interesting to
talk.
see. I'll be interested to see if they. I mean, it would seem foolish to make this exclusive to these watches.
Yeah, I don't see
So
that happening.
yeah. So I would assume this will be announced at a later date when Android Wear 2.0 is finalized. That this is coming as part of Wear 2.0.
I can't wait to have a chatbot on my watch.
You're gonna do so much chatbotting, Matt.
I'm gonna
Chatbots
so
everywhere.
chatbot. I'm gonna name mine Sam Ketchum, and I'm just gonna do Dick Tracy references all
I'm
over.
gonna I'm gonna name mine Smarter Child, and it'll be just like AOL.
Everybody's gonna be building chatbots.
Yes. All right, so last little Google announcement this week. It's some new additions to OnTap. Of course, we talked about some new additions a couple weeks ago, but one of the ones that was missing was, despite the fact that they added Google Photo functionality in Google Now OnTap, we now have barcode scanning right through your phone's camera app just by activating Google Now OnTap. So that's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know what the XYZING or whatever the company that makes the barcode scanner is going to do if they don't have 1.5 million
I mean,
downloads with everybody.
they'll probably rely on the fact that people don't use Google Now on tap.
That's
Yeah,
so.
there's something deeply okay. Can we just come to grips with the fact that long pressing the home button in the camera app is fucking stupid?
It
Nobody's gonna
is
do
it
that.
is on definitely on any phone that has on-screen buttons, because you have to swipe to get the buttons to show up and then long press, and it's like right on top of the shutter button. It's bad.
Even with a
So-
physical or capacitive key, though, all a consumer's going to think is home button goes home, makes me leave the camera. Nobody's ever going to associate that with, oh, it makes me search for stuff with the camera. It's a
I mean,
home
that's
button.
kind of
Well, I
it's
mean,
like a
that's
larger issue with on tap in general, I think, because when it was just the now stream, when you hold the home button, like a thing appears and like you can drag and it's pretty fast, so you can there's at least like some glimmer of hope that you'll discover it. But just a regular long press seems like if you aren't aware that it exists, the only way you're going to discover it is by accident, especially in the camera app. Like, who I would not think to do that personally.
Yeah, you've got to bet that their ideal implementation that wouldn't work on third-party devices is that you just long tap on an object in the viewfinder and that searches for it, because that makes a lot more sense. I want you to focus and do something with this, is what that action would say. Whereas the home button is just like so out in left field. You'd have to alter existing behavior of people, especially something that's so ingrained as the home button. And that feels like something that's very difficult to do.
I also just feel like, I don't know, I'm still waiting for OnTap to be as cool as it was supposed to be, if that makes sense. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm just
yeah.
down.
I mean, I don't think that's actually ever going to happen.
Maybe I just have a bad attitude about it, but
I
it seems
mean,
like it came
they-
out and it didn't really do what it was,
They did
Uh,
such a good job of selling it when they announced it. It sounded
Right.
so exciting.
and then it didn't do that, and now they're just kind of like
They keep
nailing
throwing
features on.
They're throwing more stuff into it. Like, I mean, like those toggles that we saw a couple weeks ago. Like, that's a perfect example of Google just like saying, whatever, just put it in now on tap, see if people use it. It's becoming like a dumping ground for stuff. And like the barcode scanning thing is cool. Like, if you know it's there, I'm sure I'll probably use it at some point.
To be fair, though, I feel like a lot of this happened with Now originally when it launched, too. It was just that everybody was so geeked about Now that it was just looked at like, oh, this is cool. Look what Now does now.
Well, I mean, but the thing about Now is like every time you opened Google Now, I mean, and still now, like every time you open it, there's stuff there. A lot of the time when you use Now on tap, it just goes nothing. Sorry.
Yeah,
Check that later.
It's two kind of different like conversations with Google, I guess. Like, what do you have for me versus do you have anything for me? And the second one is a much more unreliable question to ask. And I got the feeling from Now, from the time that it launched, that it was a much more controlled experience. Like, I think it felt to me like Google was being way more careful about it. I don't know. Maybe that's just my perception.
Yeah, I guess so. Scuttlefield brings a point going back to discoverability, that when we leaked that the flower style home button with the Google colors, that would obviously be much more visually indicative of a secondary function, especially if there's an animation.
But are you saying, for instance, that it would animate when Now on Tap sees something? Because I would wonder how that's technically feasible.
I would guess
in the first
not. I would
place.
guess it's more just that long pressing activates the animation and tells the user that they're doing something different.
But that's great for people who have transparent thumbs.
Yeah, and I still think it has the problem that long press will always have, and also just the idea of having that flower visible all the time really freaks me out.
I guess so. I mean, your point would make more sense, where maybe if it's something that Google knows that this is a good piece of content for Now on Tap, so let's say you're in Messenger and somebody texts you a street address, and then Google realizes that on the fly, and suddenly the home button lights up with this flower animation.
I mean,
that Google can do something.
That would definitely like solve one of the problems with Now on Tap. But is that something that Google could do? Like actually monitor every screen all the time?
I feel that it would create more issues, but we'll see. I don't know.
I mean, I'm curious to see if that's kind of the vision there, because that to me makes the most sense. Especially like, okay, you bring up the camera and then that button lights up because hey, this is a obvious the camera's probably going to be one of the biggest uses for Now on Tap now because of barcodes and QR codes, I guess.
Zerblade just says, you realize Assistant could very well be shaping up to be the same situation as Now on Tap, which, like, I can't believe you put that into the universe because now I'm like stressing out about it.
Yeah, I don't actually feel that hyped about Assistant at all because I don't like voice assistants very much in the first place.
Yeah.
Even the whole hype for Assistant, I feel like, is around Google Home, not so much around smartphone implementation.
I
Well, it's not
keep
just voice though. I mean, it's
It's a
conversational
chatbot
text too.
No, I mean I keep forgetting that Google Home is a thing. Like there has been no mention of it since.
Well, 'cause it's not coming out till fall, so it's basically, Google's like, oh, it exists. Okay, bye. We'll see you in October or whatever. I have no reason to think it's coming out in October specifically. I just tossed out a month that is in fall. This is not
Sure, David,
an
sure.
AP exclusive.
Sure.
It's too late for that.
Plausible deniability.
All right, well, let's move on to carrier 411. Verizon has announced some new plans, which, they're plans. They have different prices and different data amounts. That's kind of how these things work. But I think the safety mode feature, we're going to throw air quotes around feature, the safety mode feature is probably the thing that we're going to talk about most because apparently, safety mode is a way for you to save on overages when you go over your data limit, which sounds good, except when they tell you that they are going to throttle you and charge you $5 a month for the privilege. So, yeah.
It's pretty gross, is what it is. So like the gist of safety mode leaked a couple days before they made it official. And at the time, it's like it sounded okay. Like that's fine. You can go to the Verizon app and you toggle a setting, and instead of charging you an overage when you go over, they would just throttle you, like T-Mobile does when you go over your 4G data bucket. However, it turns out that this is actually a feature you need to add to your plan. So people who have the two highest tiers, the extra large and extra large data buckets, they get this feature for free. Everybody else has to pay an extra $5 a month for it. And you pay that whether or not you actually go over. You're just giving Verizon extra money in case you go over your data, in which case they will just make it really slow instead of charging you for more fast data. It is the height of arrogance on Verizon's part to just say, okay, pay us more money and we won't charge you even more.
Yeah, this is fairly despicable. And yet, there's no way Verizon will go back on this, and you know it, because they know everybody's going to use this, especially parents are going to see this and go, oh, thank God, I can pay money to stop this problem,
I know, and it's so disappointing because this is just, it takes zero extra effort for them. Like this is free money for Verizon.
Yeah, it totally is. And there's no reasonable interpretation of this where Verizon is actually incurring any cost by providing this to anybody whatsoever. It's just absolute, they're just fleecing you of this $5 per month. An extra $60 a year that they can take to the next investors meeting and say, guys, we had a great idea. You're gonna love it. But that's Verizon.
Yeah,
so they added rollover data. That's not included in the $5 charge. You get that either way, right?
Right. Yeah, you get rollover data, but it's only good for a month after
That's just like AT&T's. Yeah.
So that sucks. I mean, the new plans, they're like $5 or $10 more a month, and they give you like a little bit more data. So okay, whatever. I guess if you were worried about not having enough data and you don't mind the extra cost.
But that's just Verizon's way of saying, listen, you're probably not using the extra data anyway, but now you're going to pay more for what you don't use. Isn't this great?
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, so the thing it dovetails with the ridiculous safety mode thing. They also added this thing called Data Boost, which is basically a way that you can just pay an overage cost anyway. So like if you have Data Boost on and you go over and like your data's all slow and crappy and you're like, oh man, this was a bad idea. I shouldn't have done this. then you can just pay them $15 and they'll give you another gigabyte of LTE. So at that point, you've paid them $5 for safety mode, and now you're going to pay them another 15 for the overage that you would have paid anyway. It's just Verizon is so good at making people pay more money. It shocks me.
Yes, it is quite depressing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's Verizon, so is it really shocking? I mean,
Yeah, man. I mean, I can't imagine why anybody. I'm like whatever. Like I'm not like entirely keen on the way T-Mobile does things either, but I can't imagine people being Verizon customers voluntarily unless like they live someplace where Verizon is the only carrier that has good coverage because they just do such ridiculous things.
I wouldn't even say that case is voluntary.
I mean, I guess if you consider a smartphone to be a non-essential device.
It's either that or just don't use your phone.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Verizon.
That's Verizon. All right, so let's move on to EV leaks. We've got renders that have surfaced regarding the Galaxy Note 7 with no space. The name has been confirmed. We have imagery to go along with it. I'll go ahead and pull it up on the video feed for those of you joining us that way. So here is the Galaxy Note 7. Not really anything.
It's hideous. I'm kidding. It just looks like a Note phone. It just looks like every other Note phone, basically.
Yep, pretty much.
Curved edges. There you go.
Iris scanner, question mark?
This is like the most phoned-in Samsung design. Like with the Note, they just don't try anymore. It's like, just make it look kind of like the S phone or whatever, I guess. I don't know.
Someone literally just said, make it look like the S phone. Bye, like, whatever.
Yeah, if you could just make it look a little more like the other phones we're selling a shit ton of, that'd be great. All right, good meeting. Except in Korean. So yeah, it has that stripy design on the back, which I believe is. I feel like they've used that somewhere before. Was it on the Note? It wasn't on the Note last year, I don't think.
No, it wasn't last year's.
Nah,
I feel like they've used that before. You know what it was?
Kinda
It
looks
was
like
on the
a printed
front
error.
of the Note 4.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So that they put it to the back now. Interesting. I like the blue color, the coral blue. It's so soft and gentle. It's nice. And so, as such, I can assume that absolutely no carrier in America will stock that version of the phone, because it's just like cars, where nobody wants the weird color because it hurts the resale value of the phone, and people won't buy it in the first place. So yeah, it's a Note 7. The iris scan thing looks like a big maybe, because it looks like you've got the front-facing camera there, then you've got the notification light, and then you've got something else.
Something else.
If that's real, I'm like dying to see how you do
the
this.
notification
Wait.
light
Doesn't it need? It
the
needs
notification
like.
light is covered by color. So
But
there's
it
three
needs
things.
like a proximity and light sensor port, right?
Yeah, so there's three things there. So the notification LED you don't see because that sits under the color, because it shines through. Yeah. So you've got the proximity light sensor thing, and then you got the camera, and something else.
I mean, I really, really hope that they have it this year, just so
I
we
guess
can
the
stop
S7 Edge
hearing.
has 3 sensors too, although the ones on this do look a little bit bigger. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. Yeah, the iris scanning thing. If it's just the camera, I don't really think. So what I found out was I saw when we went to MWC last year, we saw at Toshiba's, or is it Fujitsu? It was Fujitsu or Toshiba?
The year before.
Yeah, it was the year
was there.
before. Yes, and I think it was Fujitsu. And we went to their booth, and they had an iris scanner phone. It was this huge chunky thing, like, obviously this is like a phone, and then they put this huge iris scanning apparatus on it, on top. And it didn't work well with glasses, but when you took your glasses off, it was stupid fast. Like it worked very well.
It looked
so,
like if you plugged a Pokemon pinball cartridge or a Game Shark into a Game Boy, that's what it looked like.
very much so. And it worked very well, but they said, through glasses, not so much, because obviously there's not a good way to see through the glare at most angles. So I'm curious how they do this. If they just do it with the camera, then that sounds like 100% gimmick factor, and they're probably going to disclaim that the security level is like low to medium because it's not really, all that biometrically accurate.
I really hope that that's the case, and that they require you to have another unlock method, it
Or
actually.
it's like it doesn't count as a secure lock method, so Android Pay doesn't work.
All right, what I hope very secretly is that if it thinks your eyes are too squinty, it asks you if they're open. And we get.
I know where you're
Everyone has
going
seen
with
that
this.
meme.
Let's
all right,
be-
everyone
let's-
has seen this. That would be a great irony. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. This phone's supposed to come out on August 2nd. I don't know if WikiLeaks published the date, but he said exactly a month or 2 months from now on June 2nd. So it's August 2nd, and the leak has said August 2nd for the event invite, which we don't have at this point. But yeah, and we'll probably see it in retail very shortly thereafter. Still not sure what the processor in this phone is, though. Could be regional differences, could be Exynos for rest of the world, could be Snapdragon for America and China. We don't really know.
All right. All right, so we're going to move on to app updates. We don't have a whole lot of those on the show, but this week I think we need to talk about Pokemon Go, which went live in several countries: US, UK, Australia, New Zealand, maybe some other folks around. And apparently the demand was a little bit more than they expected it to be, because it's a hot mess.
We had nothing to do with that.
Yeah, it's just that this game is so hot right now.
So
It
hot
is
right now.
super hot. So I assume everyone has played it at this point. I guess play in kind of the loose sense of the word, have engaged with this content.
Yeah, it
God.
is very basic. It is technically a game.
Pokemon Go review, technically a game.
It's in the Play Store game section, so
Okay, but you can
guess.
battle people at gyms, so that's
I mean,
that's the thing.
have you done any of the battles?
Not yet. I've
See,
caught. Okay.
and that's exactly the problem, is that it is so rare that you actually have battles. And then
Well, I'm not high enough level to go to the gym that's near me, but I caught a Bulbasaur right off the bat. And then this morning there was a Zubat in my apartment, so I caught that.
See, and
With
that's
going to
Zubats
work.
hanging out in
that's
apartments.
that's the amusing part of the game, is like you just open it, it's like, oh, there are Pokemon all over my apartment. But then you catch the 3 Pokemon that are nearby, and you're like, well, I can either stop playing or I can walk 3 blocks to look for more Pokemon. And then you also have to realize that when you run out of Pokeballs, you can either pay money for coins in the game to get more, or you can walk to wherever the nearest Pokestop is and cross your fingers you get enough Pokeballs to keep playing.
I have 60 Pokeballs. I don't know how it happened.
Yeah, they
I
give
have
you a lot to
tons.
start, but you know what I've noticed? Sometimes the touch detection in the game is a little sketchy, and you try to throw the ball to catch something, and it just sort of rolls off to the side. It's well, that's a wasted Pokeball, and that happens more over time, and eventually you get down there and well, I don't have a whole lot of these left.
I threw 4 Pokeballs in the sink this morning trying to get the Zubat.
The Pokemart, they sold me those dodgy Pokeballs again.
So I need to talk to the owner of this Pokestop. But yeah, okay. So I expected when I started playing this that you would have some sort of battle mechanic to capture Pokemon, but it doesn't do that. All you do is you just fling the Pokeballs off in the general direction of the Pokemon, and maybe it catches them and maybe it doesn't.
Yeah,
And then-
I will admit that the first time I encountered a wild Pokemon, and I was I have a Bulbasaur. Where's my Bulbasaur?
Yeah.
And I was what am I supposed to do as Machop? Am I supposed to walk up in AR and pretend to punch it or something? Am I responsible for assaulting this Pokemon until he is capturable with my Pokeballs.
And then and then like the game doesn't tell you any of this. Like it's just like you just like plopped into the world of Pokemon Go to figure it out.
All I want is to be able to pass by random people, like not at gyms, just kind of like a street pass type of deal where you can send a message to someone, like if you catch each other's attention, so you can start a battle. So I could type in a chat like, I like shorts, they're comfy and easy to wear, and then we would battle.
This was the dream with Nintendo DS originally when it came out, right? That they wanted to have the Wi-Fi battles at hotspot areas.
The dream is a reality, isn't it? And
Yeah,
the street pass is a thing.
Yeah, but I don't think many people use it.
There aren't enough people for any of those systems.
Yeah, and so I feel like I
have like 40 people in my street pass, but I also live in New York, so
yeah, it's probably a little bit different, I guess. But I would also think that they are very concerned about liability issues with actual human-to-human encounters, where somebody loses and doesn't lose gracefully, and then you end up with a child with a black eye and a.
It just needs to like be. I'm sure it would be at least somewhat anonymous. Like people there aren't any avatars anywhere in it, so I don't think you'd like ever see a picture.
Yeah,
of
but the AR is such that like it's so hyper local that like you would probably know like who's poke battling you with.
Yeah, you have to get like really close to stuff for it to activate.
Yeah, although I've had several Pokestops where like the GPS has freaked out and thought I was at them, and then I've been like, haha, and then it bounces back where I actually am. I've also noticed that the sketchier, poorer parts of my neighborhood, no Pokestops in those places. Only Pokestops in the more built-up, gentrified areas.
Yeah, they attach the Pokestops to like real things. I kind of like Ingress, like all of the virtual things are based at real locations. So like in my neighborhood, there's an ice cream stand like the next block over that has a Pokestop, and like the nearest gym is at a church, which is like, I don't know, Niantic is trying to get me to go to church or something.
Some of the Pokestops for me are like weirdly specific. Like some of them are architectural details of nearby buildings.
Yeah,
like one of them is like Doric Freeze. This is a Pokestop.
Yeah, no, one of mine was like mid-century European painting on a wall. And like I couldn't find the painting. Like it wasn't there. But it's like, yeah, that's your Pokestop. Deal with it. The other one was like a retail sign for a shopping center. Or it's like a sign for because it's like a shopping center that identifies itself by its street number and its street. So it's like blah, 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 Olympic. And so like that's the Pokestop, the sign.
The letter O in Olympic.
Yeah. And then I couldn't figure out the first time for like 5 minutes how to activate the Pokestop, and then I realized you have to spin it.
Right. That same thing happened to me. It's like I walked up to it, was like, okay, I'm here. Now what?
This game has the worst onboarding of any mobile game I've ever played.
It is a mess. And like when you the first time you go to a gym, it's just like you stand. I think they changed this in the final version actually, but in the beta at least, like you would just go to a gym and you'd be like, okay, now what? What do I do? And it just wouldn't tell you. But like the whole like gym thing is kind of not very good. Like that's the only time you can actually battle, and it's so simple. Like all you do is swipe back and forth to like dodge, and then tap to attack. Like there's no strategy involved like with all of the other Pokemon games that have ever existed.
That doesn't make any sense to me at all, because it's not like Pokemon games have extremely complex, mechanics.
I know, right? It's very straightforward. Like these are games that like a lot of us played when we were like kids, like 10, and it was fine. Like you could grasp it.
Yeah. It's like elementary school level RPG mechanics. It's very simple stuff.
They could just slap some Game Boy controls on that and call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, and so like I feel like people are already like gaming this in some way. I don't know if they're like using mock locations or something to like go to everywhere and like catch everything, because like there's already a guy in my neighborhood who has commandeered all of the gyms with like super high level Pokemon. So I don't believe that
Yeah.
he has in the last 3 days amassed this sort of
Probably the same
stuff.
deal as with Ingress. I'm just hoping that if I walk up and down Riverside enough times, I'll catch a missing no.
Just start walking on cruise ships, saying you're looking for Mew.
The SSN.
Excuse me, is the SSN board here?
So yeah, but I mean, it doesn't matter how much we're disappointed with it. This game is going to be huge.
Also, I guess we should probably point out this has been down for like 50% of the time that it's existed. Yeah. So
I just tried to launch it a little bit ago, and it wasn't working.
But by God, I am remaining optimistic about this. I will still be enthusiastic about this.
I'm very curious to see how they evolve it. God, that I didn't mean it. I'm curious to see what they end up doing with it, because it could be very cool.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely need to make a lot of changes to the mechanics of the game. Like right now, I feel like I'm gonna get tired of like catching Pokemon. Like that's the only really engaging thing, is like finding neat new stuff. Like once I've caught all the stuff around here, I feel like I'm just not gonna care anymore.
There are a lot of Zubats around me.
There are like not many Zubats around me. There are a lot of Machops. Machops everywhere.
Trade. Yeah, I don't have any. I don't have any of those. I have a bunch of I have like a bunch of Pidgeys.
I have an egg.
I got no Pidgeys.
And this is
and
regional
I have a
thing.
Caterpie, which will turn into a Peapod
I have
any day
a couple. I have a couple of those. Yeah.
I think I saw an Aber earlier, but I didn't like walk toward it.
Why not?
I don't know. So I had to walk in a different direction. The Aber was not on my way.
Well, you probably wouldn't be able to catch it anyway.
That doesn't sound like something a Pokemon Master would say. I'm just saying.
You know what's funny is that today I was playing Pokemon Go, and for the first time in my life, I very sadly realized why Ash Ketchum's name is funny, and that was a moment.
The first time ever.
That was actually the first time I'd ever thought about it.
First time in like
it
20
really
plus
was.
Years.
I watched that show all the time when I was a kid, and I never made the connection.
That's incredible. I'm happy for you. It's a touching moment.
It was nice.
All right, so we got one last little bit of news regarding LG. Apparently, they have restructured just the whole thing. Restructured the mobile division following apparently very disappointing sales of the LG G5, which surprises. I don't know. Anybody want to raise their hand to say that they were surprised? Nope,
No.
Nobody was surprised.
I think it probably surprised people in LG.
Probably, but they didn't hear me ask and aren't on film, so.
They might be raising their hands.
I think we have a very representative sampling by the people hosting the show, and none of us are surprised, so therefore nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody was surprised.
Yeah, so it did badly enough that they actually just came out and said in the statement, like, sales were disappointing, so we are changing everything.
Those responsible have been sacked, and those responsible for sacking them have also been sacked.
Yeah, so what they said that they created some sort of like oversight group for the mobile division, which just sounds like adding extra bureaucracy in, which isn't probably going to help anything. And that's supposed to help them make not bad phones. I mean, it's not like the G5 is like bad. It's just very disappointing compared to everything else you can buy.
But it's not bad.
Like in a vacuum, if it were the only phone in the world, I would totally use it and I wouldn't hate it.
It's worse than everything else.
Take that soundbite and just use that as your slogan. If it were the only phone, I would use it.
Yeah, it's like the Toyota Corolla of phones. It's like, yeah, I mean, it exists, but why would you? And it obviously doesn't have the marketing and brand prowess of the Toyota Corolla, so it's more like it's like a Suzuki Swift or something. Like it's nobody even knows it exists.
And like the longer LG goes without even trying to introduce new modules for it, the more this phone is just looking like a regrettable flop.
Yeah, and yeah, I think that if they do a new V series phone, they will have a better critical response to that device than they had with the G5. I think the V10 last year generally was well liked,
Mhm.
and I bet if they do a new V series phone this year, that again will give them the year end kind of one up on Samsung because the V10 did the V10 have a removable battery?
Yeah,
I
it did.
forget. Yeah. So I think especially if that's their retort to the Note 7, um, I think probably a lot of Note people have gone to the V series, especially after last year the Note 5 didn't have an SD card slot, I guess, right?
Right.
So and the V series obviously did. So I think LG won some Note fans with that phone. I think if they do a new V phone, especially if they double down on the camera stuff, they could have something good.
Yeah.
But that's not obviously going to be a volume sales success like a mainstream Galaxy S7 competitor or something.
Yeah, I mean, last year the G4 was, I think, a pretty well-regarded phone. People liked that. So, I mean, the V10 wasn't like a huge, like a huge deal for even for LG people. But this year with the G5 being kind of, not exciting for anybody, of like a new V phone could be a big deal for them. I mean, for anybody who's interested in an LG phone because of removable battery or whatever.
Yeah. So I mean, and also LG kind of does the firing of the mobile executives pretty much on an annual basis. I think they just went out of their way this year to say, listen, we really fired him this time. Really
Out of a
fired him.
cannon into the sun.
Yeah, because the critical response really was quite bad. So, and the HTC 10 is already more popular on Android Police than the LG G5 by a significant margin. I mean, relatively speaking. Neither phone is at all popular compared to the Galaxy S7, but
All right. Well, we got one email. Craig emailed us this week. He felt bad for us because we didn't have any emails last week. He's
thank
a
you, Craig.
very sympathetic person. So Craig has actually emailed us in the past about Bluetooth issues with his ZenWatch 2. Apparently, the N preview that he has running on his Nexus 6P has fixed that issue, but he specifically emailed in to tell us about a couple of guys on the Google group for the 6P uploading some videos to YouTube demonstrating a flaw in the 6P hardware where just by touching the SIM tray, it completely cuts off streaming to like Bluetooth speakers, etc. So it's kind of interesting. He put a couple of links to YouTube videos. I don't know if any of you guys got a chance to check those videos out. I don't know. This looks like it could be a problem.
I did not, but that sounds like a issue where the Bluetooth antenna is having its signal cut when you touch the SIM tray, which is really weird, but for something that's an electronic device, probably not impossible at all. So that would seem to be a design flaw.
So it's just audio streaming that does this. Hold on, where's my 6P?
So he said, yeah, because streaming is the only time you're going to notice something like that, because BTLE is more like pulses, where it sends a little bit of data every once in a while. And so you'd have to,
Okay. I mean, I guess I could see this being a problem that I wouldn't have noticed because the SIM tray is like way, way, way at the top. It's like way up here on the phone.
yeah,
So like it's not a place where your hand would fall normally.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I would say that in general, Nexus phones have not had the best Bluetooth performance, and some of that's been down to they use a different Bluetooth stack than most other Android phones because Google has their own that they use, I believe. And there was something back in Jelly Bean. I think they switched the stack to one they were developing with like actual Bluetooth companies. But yeah, Nexus phones and Bluetooth has always been such a dice roll for me at least.
All right. Well, thanks for Craig. Thanks for Craig. Thanks for Craig. We are very thankful for Craig because Craig emailed us when we were really in need. So thanks, Craig. Hey, so contest giveaways. If you're watching the live show, there's probably still a chance to get yourself entered to win an NVIDIA Shield Pro, the 500 gigabyte version at androidpolice.com/contest. If you're listening to the downloaded version later, laser. If you're listening to the downloaded version later, it's probably too late. But I don't know, give it a shot. Maybe there's a couple hours left on that. And other than that, if you would like to get a hold of us, ask us a question, send us your home screens, send us an antique. Android Police can be reached at podcast@androidpolice.com or called with any questions at 530-HELLO-AP. That is 530-435-5627. You can also find us on Twitter at Android Police and on Google Plus and Facebook. And WhatsApp.
But we're not actually on WhatsApp.
Why
sorry.
don't we have a
App.net.
Snapchat? Is there not
We
an
don't have a
Android
Snapchat. We also have an Instagram, but Artem has not been able to reclaim the password for it.
Yeah, I remember
there's some kind of issue.
We were vaguely interested in using Instagram for like 2 minutes. I think I used it twice for the site and then never again.
Yeah, so we have to get that back or whatever. I have to ask Artem what happened with that, actually, because the discussion we had months ago.
I mean, it seems like Snapchat is the thing that a lot of sites do.
I'm going to stop the broadcast now.